Are y'all ready for the jam? I said, are y'all ready for the jam? Yo, G, kick it.
You've asked for it, we made it possible.
Your party host, the most charismatic showman to ever enter your living rooms.
And that is me. Hello. We are here with Theo Campbell-Berzins' portion of the Liquid Lunch. And with me is co-host and as well as co-owner of that media, Hugh Reilly. Hello, Hugh.
Hello, Theo. It's great to be here on your show.
It's great to have a show. It's what can I say? Yes. So we're gonna jump right into it. Tell me about your job, Hugh. What is your daily duties?
I'm just gonna sit on my jacket. That's what the pros do.
That's what the pros do. Yes. Okay. Hold
Yeah.
on. Before me pro here. I gotta fix it like the pro.
Yeah. I was in that movie. I forget what was that movie where they did that, where they sat on the. I forget.
You know,
they anchor. It wasn't. Doesn't matter.
Anchorman is a great.
It wasn't
movie.
Anchorman.
It wasn't Anchorman.
It wasn't. No, but it was John Hurt. Not John Hurt. The other guy. The other Hurt, maybe. Anyways, William Hurt.
William Hurt.
And that other guy. Doesn't matter. Okay. Anyways, now that I've sat down on the jacket, my job. What was the question?
Well, really, what is what would you consider your job a title? What would you like to go by as? Not Mr. or Sir Hugh Reilly, but more so as in.
Well, I like to use the word founder.
Founder. Of
that media, but that doesn't really talk much about the day-to-day job.
Yeah.
That happens here. So. I would say that the day-to-day job consists of doing Liquid Lunch, of course, which is integrated with the overall marketing of the station, because through Liquid Lunch we get to introduce the station and the concept to all kinds of people who would probably never know about the station otherwise.
As well as just offering people capabilities and offerings of shows.
And see, that's the other thing. It's one thing to tell somebody about it's a good idea for you to do a show.
Yeah.
Right, but it's another thing to actually give them the experience of sitting in these chairs, having a fabulous conversation, and getting the idea that, hey, I can do this too, right? And so that's the other purpose of Liquid Lunch, is to give people that experience, give them a taste of it, so that they want to come back and do more of it. So so the other thing is that that's part of my job description is putting the whole station together from a technical point of putting it together technically, and doing that in such a way that it serves our business objectives,
as well as just having fun too.
Well, having fun is essential.
It is essential.
That's the slogan I've been using for this business for a long time, is trying to make a difference and have as much fun as possible, not necessarily
where
in that
you
order,
can go
right?
and make TV like a pro.
Yeah, because people need to have fun.
Yeah, no, definitely. And if I've learned only one thing about Liquid Lunch, is that it's all about the fun. But yeah, no, so many people come through the Liquid Lunch, and shortly after we see them either during the same day talking about a show or even on the show again. So it really makes it personal and really makes it down to earth, so you can really see yourself making a show and pursuing it. Is what you do different in other radio stations? Like, is that channel is much more different than most internet radio stations you'd find?
Well, I mean, we started off as a radio station, an internet radio station, right? And then we made the transition to TV as soon as we could. So. First of all, internet radio itself or internet television is very different from regular television or regular radio.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things different about it. First of all, it's a completely pull environment. When you're talking about internet, the way the internet works, like broadcast media is push, right?
Okay.
Versus the internet is all pull. Nobody's going to watch anything on the internet unless they want to. Whereas if you're just flipping around the radio, you're going to get some of that content that's being pushed at you by those terrestrial broadcasters, right? So The difference is this, and it impacts the business model, because if you're a radio station or a TV station, just broadcasting, pretty much you're going to be guaranteed a certain percentage of the viewership or the audience. Because if you're one of 3 TV stations, in general, you're going to get a third of the audience.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But on the internet, it's totally different, because
It's
people have to
completely open.
want that content. They have to pull it.
Yeah.
So the internet itself is programmed by its users. It's not, it's programmed by the viewer.
It's
Whatever
kind of
you experience or whatever you watch on the internet is what you want to watch. So my
Yeah.
experience sitting in front in front of a computer on the internet is what I want to watch. And for all practical purpose, there's an infinite amount of content, and
of
I'm
course.
only gonna watch so that totally inverts the value of content versus the audience.
Mm-hmm.
So, and what that means is that content is increasingly meaningless, worthless,
Worthless.
valueless.
Yeah.
Content, and I joke about it sometimes, but content is worthless.
Well, no, that's definitely true. And the other thing I find is you probably might not have as much as the open kind of topics as you would on, let's say, CTV or CBC. You couldn't talk about the same topics. You couldn't get the small businesses and small things going around in the city that you would usually see.
Where, on City
On
TV?
City TV, you couldn't.
Well,
There's a lot of stuff on CBC about the country and little things that are going on, but this is really Toronto, kind of.
Well, this is whoever can walk through that door,
Yeah, exactly.
right? So, or of course, sometimes we get people in on Skype,
Yeah,
which is great. But I mean, CBC has a mandate, and also CBC's mandate and business model. Well, they don't really have a business model because it's taxpayer funded, but CTV certainly has a business. CBC has a mandate. CTV has a business model.
Okay.
So just to,
there is a solid difference.
Well, the CBC has a mandate to serve the people of the country, right?
Okay.
CTV has a mandate to make money for its shareholders.
Oh, okay.
That's the difference.
Okay.
So in the mandate, but what was the question?
How much does your job vary from other internet radio stations? This one seems pretty substantial. You have a lot of cool people coming in here, and you have a lot of opportunity to do a lot of stuff. I don't know how many other TV or internet radio hosts have as much flexibility. Is that fair to say?
Well, I mean, an internet radio or TV station can do anything they want,
Yeah.
right? In terms of content.
Yeah.
Okay, whether anybody's watching is a whole other story.
That's
right?
true. Yeah.
But if you're gonna have it to be a business, it needs to have a business model, and it needs to generate the money that's going to pay the bills.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not gonna last.
Yeah.
Right. So, so everything we do, including our content model, is based on a business model that is based on an understanding of the fact that we're in a pull environment, a
Yeah.
completely pull environment.
Okay.
And it took a while to kind of work our way into this into a business model that actually works on the
Okay.
internet. Because the original intent of this of when we first started broadcasting, I was working with somebody who was they were a sales guy, and they thought, oh, we'll just set up an internet radio station and I'll sell advertising, right? But he didn't understand about the fact that it's really a different medium than regular radio.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And because it operates in the pull environment, and because the people you're trying to sell advertising to are going to say, well, what's your listenership?
Yeah.
Which is going to be a very different business to attract those listeners than any terrestrial radio station, right?
Okay.
So you have to not just put out content and sell advertising,
But
you have to have a strategy also for generating your audience.
okay.
Whereas radio doesn't really need to do that. Terrestrial radio, all they need to do is come up with content, and then they sell advertising. That's their business model. So they need a content strategy and a revenue strategy.
Okay.
But whereas on the internet, you need a content strategy, a revenue strategy, an audience development strategy, and you also need a technical strategy, because and your technical strategy needs to it needs to be designed to help you achieve your business objectives.
Okay. Yeah, would you say that the ball is almost rolling for as far as audiences, as far as people coming in and people watching it? Because it seems that the more, I guess, goes on, more people are interested, more people come in, and it seems that audiences would increase, if that would be fair to say, with more as it just continually goes on.
Well, the thing is, we're still on the internet.
Yeah.
And the truth about the internet is that every day there's more and more and more content on the internet.
Definitely.
From more and more and more providers.
Definitely.
Like when I grew up, we had 3 TV stations. I mean, and that just kept increasing until now we have 1,000
and one was
TV
French.
stations. But on the internet, there are millions or tens of millions of stations of content providers.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't mean just internet broadcasters, but any website is a content provider, right?
Yeah.
So content means nothing.
It
unless you can find a way to make it really compelling.
Or really relevant? Or even is it...
And relevant. And also I often use the term value. You have to offer value to your viewers.
They want to gain something from watching the show.
Yeah, because in the old days, when there's 3 TV stations, content is scarce.
Yeah.
Content is scarce. But now there's so much content that it inverts the relationship between content and people's attention spans, or people's attention, people's capacity to absorb content. Now there's more content than people have time for. So so if you want people to watch your content, then they have to get some value out of it. So the trick is to build in so much value into the content that people are going to want to watch that.
And come back for more.
Come back for more. So I mean, I think that's still an open. I think that for us really is, and for probably any internet broadcaster, it is like it's still a challenge. What kind of content can we put out that is going to be of so much value to people that our audience will just continue to grow and grow and grow? Okay. And so I mean, that's a question that I've been struggling to answer always, and still am, and I don't have the answer yet, but I'm still thinking about it and working on what that would be. In the meantime, what we do, the content that we produce, for example, everybody that gets interviewed on Liquid Lunch, well, they have a, that interview with somebody who's a business person who's being interviewed on Liquid Lunch, they're talking about their business. Well, they have a great interest in using that content to promote their business.
Exactly.
Or to put it up on YouTube.
Yeah.
Right? And so people that are interested in whatever that content is about, or whatever product or service that business is involved with, might find that video on YouTube, and then that will lead to them hopefully getting in touch with that business and doing some business. So it's a very narrow cast type of environment, but but there's it's there. Yeah. And so it can get out there, and it just so there's a value there for that business owner to use that video, and there's a value to his potential customers to watch that video, because the value they're getting, if they need a product or service they want to buy from someone they can trust, by watching that video they're going to already develop a relationship with that business owner. Yeah. And so by the time they finish watching that video, they're going to have a comfort level with that person of who they're going to deal with, and that's going to take them one step closer to that ultimate purchasing decision. Oh yeah, definitely. And also, as I've seen a couple times, people who come in who have business endeavors, and they talk to you, and they instantly, it's like networking, but it's not even networking. It's like generating its own interest just by having guests come in. Mm-hmm. What was your educational background? What would you how did you get into this field? Well, I I took business at university. I have a business degree.
Oh, okay. Is that what stemmed into wanting your own kind of business?
No. I think what it was, I think I've always been interested in media.
Okay.
When I was in high school, for example, I would, actually when I was even younger, as soon as I could, I got a tape recorder. And I would start to create shows or, programs with this tape recorder. And I actually had a radio station when I had walkie-talkies.
That's substantial.
Well,
in kindergarten.
It wasn't kindergarten.
Oh,
but
okay.
When I was, I don't know, 8, 9,
that's
walkie-talkies for Christmas, right?
Yeah.
So these were great. But then what I discovered was that the walkie-talkies could be picked up on the FM dial.
Oh,
right?
okay.
There was a bit of a crossover. So I actually set up a big antenna, and I created a radio station that was available on FM.
Yeah.
But it didn't go very far, so it was kind of useless because.
But there
weren't too many people listening, and then the programming was. Anyways, but I went through the exercise of it, and so I had an interest in doing that, even, as a kid.
I mean, as a kid.
And then in high school, I was doing stuff like I would do projects, and they would be audio productions on cassette, and I would do. I was in charge of doing all the announcements and stuff at the school.
Yeah.
And I figured out how to use the existing system. Before I came along, they were holding mics up to tape recorder speakers, and I found a way to patch in the signal directly, so it sounded like pristine audio quality.
You were revolutionary for them.
And I would create like content that was all part of the announcements and stuff like that in high school.
That's really cool because I tried to do the same thing. Well, we tried to do the same thing at Western Tech actually. Tried to make a WTCS radio. And it was, our biggest problem, I think, was content, because we could sit there and just kind of talk about trivial things in the news and stuff, but we never had something substantial. We never had the proper funding or the support so much from the school. The school was completely supportive, but I think it was just the populace of the school wouldn't probably be that interested in the show, so we probably couldn't keep it going. But no, it's weird that now, back then, I don't know how much of interest they showed in your radio station, but if there was a kid who was 9 years old making a radio station in the schoolyard, they would jump all over it, because they're really trying to find kids stepping out of the bounds of just schools. And for instance, Western Tech, they were so supportive of the radio station that we were trying to do, and it was. I don't know how many other schools would really be. Most schools probably would, so I'm probably going to have a fairly biased opinion. Mm-hmm. But no, it would be looked highly upon, if anything. What subjects did you like in high school? What did you really pursue? Speaking about the radio station.
Let's see now. Well, I enjoyed history.
Yeah.
I like geography. What are some of the other subjects? French, I didn't really like French that much.
I wasn't a fan either.
But I took it because I wanted to be bilingual. And
it wasn't mandatory?
No, it wasn't mandatory.
Oh, okay.
But I wanted to speak French, so I took French, even though I always found it difficult. And what else? I took typing in grade 13. And I'm so glad I did. I took grade 9 typing, and that was before computers, but I wanted to be able to type, and I'm so glad now in this age of computers that I took typing.
Yeah, my dad was saying the same thing as just in high school when they introduced type classes. It's like, who's going to use this? Like, this is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
You would have never thought that this is like, it's weird that majority of my generation comes up just so our type classes are pretty much like
What?
MSN.
Oh, I thought you were going
Yes.
to say S&M.
Yeah, I almost did. I pretty much did. And that's not how we learned how to type.
This looks like the Johnny Carson show over here.
You know what? It could be. This could be late night Conan or something.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
And
the-
while we're here, I
yeah.
just want to say thank you to my typing teacher, Mr. Duperreau. He was, because I didn't even get my credit. It was a full year course, but you only got half a credit.
Oh yeah.
Or no, sorry. Or whatever, or you took, I don't know, whatever that is. But anyway, Mr. Duperreau was sad to see me go, but I'm so glad and grateful to Mr. Duperreau for teaching me typing.
Big thank you, Mr. Duperreau. Thank you, Mr. Duperreau. As I can tell, just because the liquid lunch is very humorous, and you gotta be laid back to be able to show like this. What kind of characteristics do you think it would take to really be successful as you are? It takes, I guess, humor as well as just being laid back. But what else do you think?
Well, I think you have to have a pretty broad knowledge base to be able to talk to almost anybody about what they
almost
do
anything,
and stuff
yeah.
like that. So,
Yeah. Well, because no, it seems that even with the banter we had earlier on the show, it's just more and more. I'm just expecting you to know all these answers, and I guess it's general knowledge. But some of these things I couldn't answer for the life of me.
well, it's because I watch a lot of TV.
Oh, I do too. No, it's it gets
No, I
bad.
used to read encyclopedias though when I was a kid.
Okay, see that's probably what it takes.
Yeah, but I'm just generally interested in a lot of different stuff.
Well, just having
And I do have a good memory, so.
just having the will to learn. There's a lot of people who don't really even want to. Learning is a chore for them, or it's something that you have to practice.
Yeah.
But if you just had that kind of hunger for it, I think
Mhm.
that's probably what it could be.
And I think genuine interest, genuine curiosity.
Genuine interest, yeah.
And I mean, I'm not a very good small talker, like at parties and stuff like that. I'm really not a great little small talker. But in this situation here, which is a more controlled environment,
Yeah.
it's for me anyway, a perfect forum to have a real. Because I like to get into real subjects, and a lot of times if you're at a party or something like that, people, they don't want to get into heavy discussions or whatever. But here in this situation, because I genuinely do want to get into heavy, interesting, intelligent discussions with people. So this is great for me because I get to do that. It's a perfect forum to have those kind of conversations with people.
Yeah. Well, because no, I'm not one for small talk, and it's weird how much you. Instead of like if you're with someone having a conversation you barely know, you're going somewhere, it's weird for people just to not talk while you're walking. And for me, if I'm walking and I'm not talking, it's not as if I'm trying to, ignore the person, or if if I have nothing really to say, I'm not going to just say absolutely anything. So, and it's weird how a lot of people can't do that. A lot of people have to constantly keep a conversation up to feel, I guess, comfortable in a situation.
Well, and I noticed too that sometimes people need to always be with other people.
Yeah.
And I was like that for a while when I was, younger. I couldn't do anything on my own. If I wanted to go downtown or go do something or go whatever, who wants to come with me?
Yeah, definitely.
And but then I learned that it was okay to do it on your own, and now I really enjoy doing stuff on my own.
Yeah, because some things like shopping isn't. Like, I guess it could be fun with a friend.
I don't think so. I hate shopping.
I hate shopping regardless. I would just be the worst negative person there, just knocking things off.
Especially with somebody else.
Especially with
like
someone who's just trying to.
I don't want to be hanging around while they're trying something on. Can we go now?
Can we go now? Unless I'm involved, I don't want to be involved.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you say there's a fairly solid job security? Like, there's not going to be another ThatChannel popping up across the street and you're going to be out of an audience,
Job security. That's the nice thing about internet television. That there's no job more secure or better paying than internet broadcasting. So that's one fabulous thing about it. But so first of all, there's no job security
No.
I think increasingly for more and more people all over the world, there's no job security.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
And because the world's changing so quickly, jobs changing, roles change, the economy changes.
The world changes, yeah.
And in the past, that was okay. This is a big discussion about economics and technological society.
Yeah.
But when everybody lived on a farm, you didn't need job security. You just hope it rained, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So, because you were,
that's all
and the
you
government
relied
didn't
on.
have to look after you because you had to look after yourself on the land, okay?
Yeah.
But as our society has gotten more complex and more technological, and this has really only happened in the last 100 years,
Yeah.
we now, and this is why we had to collectively develop a social safety net, because when you have more and more people working in industrialized cities, then if for some reason there's an economic problem, then you need some sort of a safety net to keep people with roofs over their head and food on the table. Otherwise, you're going to have collapse, societal collapse. And that's what we learned in the Depression, right? And that's what we're trying to unlearn now with people like Stephen Harper. But the problem is this: you can't go back to the old days of self-reliance, because we do not have. That works if everybody's living on the land, but it doesn't work when we have people living in a city in a super interdependent economic situation with highly complex technology. You can't do that. You need a social safety net.
Yeah.
So dismantling it is a step backward.
Yeah. Well, because it's more and more jobs are. You could have a job for. There's like sub jobs for something like my friend got a job as the person who handles typesetting.
Yeah.
And if there was no computers, if there was not a person who had a job to be the producer or finishing editor, he wouldn't have a job. And it's just jobs keep springing up from other jobs.
Yeah.
It gets at a point it's just gonna I think it's just gonna turn around and bite itself in the ass.
How?
I have no idea. I'm kind of curious to see if it even happens, or I'm just being a narcissist.
Well, I mean, think about it. Even internet TV is only can result from a certain level of complexity of technology.
Yeah.
I mean, you need an internet.
Yes.
And then you need internet to reach a level of maturity where the bandwidth issues there's enough bandwidth to do it.
Yeah.
And so those things took up until about 10 years ago to come into place. Prior to 10 years ago, this was not possible.
Exactly.
Right? So, so everything, new things always emerge out of the things that were new from something else that came before.
Yeah. It's hard for me to get the words right, but yeah, no, it gets weirder and weirder. If you had to do other jobs, what would like if there was no that channel, what do you think you would probably go through with your characteristics? Like, what do you think you'd be best suited to?
Well, I can tell you some of the things I've done.
Well, even better.
Which were, I when I first came to Toronto, I was a courier, which was great. It was a fabulous job.
Well, yeah, I know you like riding a bike a lot.
Well, yeah, I didn't do the bike. I have done bike courier, but when I came to Toronto, I had a car, so I was doing car courier. But for me, it was a tremendous It was a period of great liberation, and because I could drive all over the city, I didn't have anybody breathing down my neck. I was making decent money. I had a car that was paid for, and it was all great.
Yeah.
But I got. I didn't want to do that forever because that's just a job, right? And I think most people, maybe all people, me anyway, I feel, I think people come into the world and they have a mission to accomplish, or they have a purpose that they've been here to do. And I think if people can identify what that purpose is, and then if they're fortunate enough to be able to move forward and achieve it, then I think that's one of the most important things in life.
Well, yeah, because probably longer than my brother's been alive, people have been thinking more progressively about careers probably than just jobs, because way back in the day, not my day, but back in the day, it was if you farm, that's how you support yourself. It wasn't that you were going to make a career so then you could buy food, so then you could feed yourself. It was just you did the basics to get by. How do you think do you think that channel will evolve more so in the future? Will this continue to just get more evolved, and soon it'll be in 3D?
Well, 3D and smell-o-vision.
Okay, that's
with the scratch and sniff
scratch and
screens,
sniff.
right? You should smell it what's like here right now. But unfortunately, we don't have the smell-o-vision, so.
That would that would really bring this completely full circle. No, that would be good. Well, hopefully.
I mean, okay. Well, so your question is, and you're kind of answering. That's a technological. Advancement.
As far as maybe whether it should be a distributor of that channel enterprise, or if how large it gets, or it's a long future to see too.
Well, I think also you have to always be aware of what's happening in the environment that you're in.
Yeah.
So, like some of the major advances or whatever, or new things that have come into the environment that we have to be aware of, because we have to adapt everything we do to that changing environment, right? So, for example, social networking has become huge since we started doing this. So that impacts everything we do. It impacts how we distribute our content. It could impact our business model. So you always have to be aware of the environment that you're in, and you have to make changes and adaptation. And there's lots of opportunities too.
Yeah.
If you're aware of the environment, then you're aware of new opportunities that can come up. So.
Oh yeah, well definitely.
So that's one thing. So really, always just to be aware of the environment and seize as many of those opportunities as you can. I think our fundamental model that we're doing has got some staying power, and it's I think can adapt well to these changes. And I think we just have to do what we're doing now. I think we just have to do a better job of it. And we have to, and then I would like to see us taking this model and duplicating it.
Okay.
Once we perfect it, then we can duplicate it.
Okay. Well, that would be the next larger step, I'd say. You are probably as a internet radio host, that's pretty substantial. What were other opportunities that you had earlier on in your career? Like, what other paths could you have taken?
Well, I almost took music at university.
Oh, okay.
Instead of business.
Oh, instead of business. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that could have been two different forces kind of thing.
Yeah. I could have also, there was a couple of moments where I was offered a job once in broadcasting when I was like 19 or something. I was still a student, and I turned it down because I was making more money at this other job. So, but I think looking back at that, it was maybe a short-term gain, the more money, but I sacrificed what could have been a long-term broadcasting career at the time. So, but that's okay, because then I might have not had the incentive to try to create something like this, because I would have been working in the industry, and I would have been part of the dinosaur that's dying instead of the new thing that's coming up.
It's
right?
kind of like that short-term kind of sacrifice for something that will eventually come into bloom into something bigger.
So I could have done that. I could have stayed in I was selling real estate for a while.
Oh, okay.
And I could have, maybe I could have, it wasn't so bad. Maybe I would have, but I would have been, I probably would have just regretted not really going for what I really wanted to do. I could have made a lot of money.
Yeah.
But, those are a couple of things, a couple of the turning points that could have happened.
Yeah, just because there's so many places because there's constantly new jobs evolving and coming out. So there's always kind of like different ways you can go off and branch off through different fields. So
well, I'll tell you another little story. At one time, I had some money and I was trying to figure out what to spend it on, and this was in the early '80s, and so essentially it boiled down to two things. So we're talking about like 1981, maybe 1980, 81, and my choices were I was going to spend it on a video camera because I wanted to even then to get into like
video.
TV, whatever that
TV,
was,
okay.
right? The other thing that I was considering getting, which I kind of regret now, is I could have bought a computer, like a microcomputer in those early days, and then I probably would have taught myself to be a computer geek, which would have been awesome, because that was the very, very beginning of what became the computer revolution, right?
Well,
so maybe I would have been a programmer, maybe I would have come up with something that would have been a huge, I'm just saying, the video camera didn't get me much.
Yeah.
Right? Because at the time there was just, that was just the camera. Then, how do you distribute it? Editing, didn't know anything about editing, all that stuff. So it didn't really go anywhere.
Post-production and stuff,
Right? So it might have been a better idea to buy a computer, but I didn't.
I still have a memory of those old Macs we used to have, and it was just like it was a sick. I mean, compared to some, and it's weird that if oh, the humor in the station.
Yes.
If it was because more and more this is not really fair of me to say, but because I'm still young, but it'll be weird in maybe 5 or 10 years to see that if kids growing up who are about maybe like 6 or 7 now, when they hit their teens, if they would have even been aware of the kind of computers that I had used. And then it's just kind of like that generation, not even a generation gap. It's just like technology is moving so fast, it's hard to even like spread any knowledge about what was the past. It's all about the future. So it's going to be weird soon. It's going to be weird. There are lots of things that you can do to, I guess, you can go to school, you can get jobs at businesses like camera places and stuff. What would you say would be probably the most substantial way to start a career like this? Would it be like volunteering, like such as I am doing, or would it be sort of more in the field? As this is in the field as much as you could get, but
I would say now, just because everything's so cheap. Cameras are cheap, computers are cheap, peripherals are cheap, that if somebody really wanted to do something like this, that they just start doing it, because they can do it in their basement. They can do it themselves. They can put the technology together. They can come up with an audience strategy and a revenue strategy and a content strategy. So just start doing it. That's the beautiful thing about it now. What this medium really allows is that up until internet broadcasting and the YouTube age, right, only a very small number of people could use television to communicate. And those people were usually corporations with a lot of money that could buy the advertising, or filmmakers and writers that had access, that were able to convince network executives to, put their shows on TV, and that mostly was done out of Hollywood, whatever. I'm just saying, a very small number of people could actually use television to communicate. Now everybody can use it to communicate, so it's a great democratizing influence in terms of it's because television is. It's, in a sense, it's the fulfillment of technology to communicate. And print is a technology used to communicate. right?
Yeah.
So, and there was a time when there was no writing. And
Yeah.
so the only communication that could be done was people face to face. And what television allows us to do is use technology to duplicate face to face communications across time and across space.
Yeah. Well, it's really, compared to so many other different kinds of media, television, I think, is going to be the most, like, there will always be writing, there will always be print. Well, I don't know about print, to be honest. But I have a feeling that as long as people still enjoy having conversations, as long as people still enjoy having social time together, I think there will always be television, just because you can spread so much, I guess you could say goodwill, and so many things so compressed in such a small amount of time, and have such a huge influence and such a huge impact on everything.
It's like real life.
Yeah, exactly.
Except without the smell. Until smell-o-vision comes out.
Until we finally get the budget for smell-o-vision. Until then, stay tuned. What you seem to always have a lot of fun. What do you really like about this career? Is it just all the cool things that come through? And
I like meeting all the people that come in. I like the challenge of coming up with a business model for a new kind of for what this is, something new, a new business model. I like that. I like business models. That's what I like. I like to do that. So that's the business side of me, right?
Yeah.
The business, coming up with business models. And the money's fabulous. I love having tons of money.
The dough. Holla at your boy.
And the nookie.
That too.
We did it all for the nookie.
All for the nookie. Oh goodness, Miss Halling, I'm sorry. Because I have a blast every day. It seems there's something I can sit. It's not even like sometimes when I'm sitting there. Sometimes I'm having to watch myself from laughing because I don't want to pick up in the cameras. But it's just sometimes I could just have a blast sitting here sometimes talking to some people, and just the comic relief that is always there, kind of. It's some really sometimes like stiff situations, and then it's just two cracks and everybody's laughing again. So that's probably the most appealing thing for me. What would you, and we don't have to get too far in this because I don't know how many things there are. What would you say you dislike about the career? Or not so much a career, but what would you dislike about having to manage people, having to deal with people? I'm not that much of a people person, but
well, it's politics. There's always politics, no matter what, right? So, I don't. It's not nice when the politics is ugly.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
But you just got to deal with it, and
so yeah,
that's about it. I'll tell you, it's not easy to do this.
Yeah. I
right?
can say so.
To kind of invent a business, in a sense, out of thin air, and to have such faith in the dream and the vision of it, that you are compelled to move forward with it, even if there's a severe lack of resources. And sometimes that lack can really take its toll.
Yeah.
But that's life too, right? And we're still so privileged to be able to do this.
Oh, definitely.
And to be living in this country.
Yeah.
And to know the people that we know and work with the people that we work with.
And have the experiences that we have, just to wrap up, what advice would you give to high school students such as me? What would you suggest? Not to succeed and make lots of money and have the dream of a car, a house, and a wife and 2 kids, but to really experience life, really, instead of just the two-dimensional aspect.
I would say when it comes to career decisions, of course, follow your dream, but be practical.
Yeah.
I mean,
Definitely.
think about the long-term prospects for making money,
because sometimes you have to, if you want to be able to live, if you want to be able to be happy, if you want to be able to have the things that you want, to have the luxuries that we have, you gotta.
And I would say, and I didn't even get into it, but you know, one of the things that I always wanted to do when you were asking about the career stuff, I always wanted to be a rock star, right? And I still play music, and it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. You're going to break through soon.
It's going to happen, but I would say that don't like, you know, 99% of the people that want to be singers, or want to be musicians, or want to be hip-hop artists are not going to make it. They're not going to earn a living at it. They're never going to earn a living at it. So you need to be practical about it, and you need to have a plan B.
That's
right. I mean, you can still work on that stuff and do that for fun, because if you're going to be successful at that anyway, you're going to be successful by having fun at it. And you can really only have fun at it if your day-to-day expenses are taken care of. So have some sort of a money-making career or job. You know, work towards that as well while you're working towards the other stuff on the side.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, because at a point sometimes the work you do could be something you love. If it's really something you hate and each day is a grudging day, and sometimes it's better to go with the practical, easy solution than something that you may feel is reachable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is always that stuff of believe in yourself,
Mm-hmm.
But at a point, belief can only go so far. So there's got to be a point where you got to clue in. Not so much clue in, because that could be kind of harsh to some, but really be aware that if you want to have the good things in life, if you want to go where you want, if you want to travel, if you want to have kids and all this stuff, you got to do practical stuff.
And you got to work hard.
And you got to work hard.
And you gotta figure out what you want, come up with a plan for it, and work hard and diligently to get there.
And if you're a workaholic, then it's something that you'll love, and maybe you can turn a career into it. But that is pretty much all the time we have. But thank you very much, Hugh. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
To my classmates, I hope you've enjoyed this. And if not, then I'll criticize you. Have a great day, and thank you for joining us.